Cześć, jesteśmy zmęczeni, jesteśmy też nieogoleni, śmigamy sobie dalej po Gamescomie. Jak oczywiście wiecie, przynajmniej część z was wie, jestem Robert Sawicki z Gram.pl i mamy tutaj Emmanuelem Lusinchi z BioWare, który jest głównym projektantem gry. It's a blast, it's really cool to have you here on the interview.
Well, thank you. I hope you get the chance to play the game and tell us if you like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play the game yet, but I really want to. So maybe just start with the question, maybe the standard one as the first one. I mean, you know, the Old Republic is the new MMO, but we already have, you know, many MMOs on the market, like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, etc. So what's so different about the Knights of the Republic?
Well,
I mean the Old Republic, it's not the Knights of the Republic, sorry for the blast from the past.
The Republic is for Xbox. Okay, the Old Republic was different. A few things, and it's important that we differentiate ourselves, otherwise, you know, why bring something new if there's nothing new. The main difference, I think, personally, is the attention and the focus we have on story. A lot of games and a lot of massively multiplayer games, in fact, have stories, but sometimes it's almost hard to find out what it is, or it's presented in a way that doesn't make it as attractive as it could be, and maybe you skip it as a player, which is natural. So when we wanted to design the Old Republic, what we wanted was to well, first make a massively multiplayer game. And but we want to play on our strength as BioWare, which is to tell stories. So that's what we had in mind: make a game with story, but not an MMO with a bit of a BioWare flavor, but an MMO with a full BioWare story with the choices and the depth.
Just trying to take the experience from the, in example, Mass Effect to the Old Republic.
Yeah, the same kind of quality, the exact same kind of feeling when you play Mass Effect. If you really think about it and you stop, you play it to get new ability and get more powerful? A little bit, that helps, but you do play it for the story and to know what happened to your character, but also not only what happened to your character, but what kind of character is he? Oh, she. You know, are you evil? Are you good? Are you a bit of both?
Yeah,
and
how it affects the world also.
It affects the world and people around you, and every conversation, every part of the story is a chance for you to answer that question. And that's what we wanted for the Old Republic in a massively multiplayer setting. So, and I think we've succeeded, which is great. And that's what we think we really bring to the genre. Of course, it's a very high quality MMO, AAA with.
I mean, come on, it's Star Wars. Has to be high quality, or the fans gonna be just enraged and gonna blow up the BioWare.
Yes, exactly, and I think we also have to live up to our own reputation, but also to the examples that Knights of the Republic or previous games set. So, a lot of expectation, both from the public, but from ourselves as well.
And as for the story, if we want to talk about the storytelling, if you can compare it to any of the games, so would it be more like Mass Effect or Knights of the Old Republic? So how do you just show the story?
Yeah, you're going to find it very similar to Mass Effect, because in fact we took some inspiration from Mass Effect, and
it's not bad.
Yeah, I heard. No, I love that game.
Me too.
In the presentation and in the tone of the story, what we took from Mass Effect was not only the conversation system, you know, the same kind of wheels that we have been evolving with every one of our games, but also the very concept that everything would have a voice, including your own character, which was first introduced in Mass Effect. And there's a lot of ramification to that. For example, your conversation wheels doesn't tell you exactly what your character is going to say, because if it did, well, it'd be convenient, because hey, you're sure of what you're going to say, but it'd be redundant. Like, you choose something and then the guy, your character, just says the same thing. It would get boring very quickly. So we have the same system where you kind of have to little bit guess, but you get a flavor of what you're going to say. Anyway, very similar to Mass Effect in the story sense, but of course it's a massively multiplayer game, so as soon as you're done talking, there's a lot of people around and you're encouraged to group with other people and go on adventure together.
Okay, so in terms of the story, if you could just give us the time span of how the story, the player will take place in, so how would it be? The story of the game?
How long? It's a hard question to answer, in the sense that we have all kind of stories that are put together. You've got your personal story, which is probably the one you're going to care the most about, but you have the story, each planet you go to have its own stories that you discover as you go through it, and with chance for you to impact that world. And that part is nice because you can really do it with other people at the same time, spend some time.
What I mean is, some races live kind of longer than humans, so because you can change races, yes.
Oh, of course. That's a very interesting way to put it. I couldn't tell you exactly, but looking back when you have reached the end of the story, because the story is separated in chapters, almost like a book, you have some really strong objective during your first chapter right from the beginning, but then you actually achieve them, which is nice. But then something else come up, and then there's chapter 2, and then there's chapter 3. And how long it feels like years has passed because the state of the galaxy evolved as well. Like this conflict that is almost starting at the beginning, evolved. So it feels like years have passed. But anyway, I don't have a definitive answer. Like I don't think we've stopped by to say it's exactly 3.5 years or something like this.
Okay, so my question is now, do the players have any impact on the game world? As an example for guilds, so can it be a situation when one realm, because of the better Republic players, it has the whole universe, ruled by the Republic, and the second one has the Imperial more?
I see.
World.
No and yes. You will feel that way, but it's trickery. And because actually you will see planets changing side, being captured, but it's part of the story. And no, so it's not something you feel you have an impact on it, depending on your class and depending on what happened. But so it's we have to make a lot of tricks to make you really feel unique, even though there are a lot of people playing at the same time. So it's a challenge, but I think it's not in the sense that you're saying like my guild is pushing this and then we capture a planet. Not at this time. But
so do you maybe plan to do this in the future? Because it would be really cool. I mean, come on, just having few guilds, just like, hey, let's just kick the ass of the Imperial guys.
It's a war.
Yeah.
And it would make sense. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, some of the guys asked me about the romance in the game, because in Mass Effect, I don't know why, this is a creepy question actually. Will it be possible to have a romance, I don't know, with NPCs or the other players maybe?
Well, players is between you and that other player, what you type in chat.
So that's the all we not.
With a player, with NPCs, yes, of course. And depending of your class, for example, you can imagine that a smuggler, you can have the Han Solo guys that have more opportunities than a Jedi Knight, which is kind of a monk. And the agent is a spy, and spies, James Bond. So you can imagine. But you also have romance with your companion characters, just like in BioWare games. Absolutely.
And, on the side of the romance, can you switch the sides, an example from the light side to the dark side? Because many people also ask me about this, because, it's not too static, I think, especially in the movies, the Anakin, he switched. So is it possible in the game, if you choose the light side, are you always going to be the good guy? Because during the game you have to make some decisions, so it would be bad if you will be a good guy on the beginning and you have to be good guy to the rest of the game.
So I have to be clear. You choose the faction, the Republic or the Empire at the beginning. The Empire are typically bad and the Republic is more the good guy, but not quite. I mean, the Republic is a Republic. There are corruption. It's a war, so they have to make really hard decisions. Some of them are not very nice. Some of them are downright evil because they are at war. Yes. When you choose your faction, you're not choosing whether you're good or bad. You can be in the Sith Academy and be at heart a good person, making good choice, and then change your mind and start doing evil thing, or be kind of a neutral person. It's completely up to you. So you will be able to explore both the light side and the dark side of the Force, even just with a Jedi. What you will not be able to is defect to the other side and leave the Republic to go and work for the Sith Empire, and not more than.
Why not? I mean, it will happen. So it will be nice to have this chance to change the side at least once in the game.
Yes, but there are technical limitations. Even if we wanted to make it happen, it would be for what it would bring, we would have to. I'd rather have more classes, for example, like 8 classes like we have, rather than 4 classes, but then you can defect. Because in the end, not many players would do it, and we would spend a huge amount of development time for some things that I think they would prefer having more class more than these tiny options. Because if you think of it, it's fully voiced. If you think about it,
that's absolutely amazing, by the way.
But it means that we would have to record, and the quests are completely different, right? There's no quest in common between the Republic and the Empire at all. But then we would have to start requesting like a Jedi Knight voice for an Empire quest, just because one guy one day decide, and we don't want him to be mute or to have an horrible accident and have his voice changed. And so we thought about that. And so, you know, there's some limitation, and we have limited resources. We have a lot of resources, but in the end they're still limited. So what is better? More classes with each a unique story, or fewer story where you can actually diverge. And it's not straightforward, but in the end we decided the way we decided.
So maybe in few expansion sets, maybe we will have this.
We will have to, in the end, the expansion is a great way for us to listen to what people want. After they play the game, they have a good idea how it plays, what is involved, and then what do they want to see next. In the end, we're a service. We have to please our customers, otherwise we don't have customer anymore.
And as for the expansion, I mean, you already have to pay monthly fee for the game. And if you're gonna have some, you know, big enhances for the game, will you just give them, you know, for free, like many of the games do now, or you will just, you know, wait some time and put them into one big expansion set?
We will have continuous, like, we don't know, we haven't said whether it will be, you know, quarterly, monthly, whatever, but we will. You can't let people wait 2 years for new content, right? They want. We have a bit of a head start because there's a lot of story, but eventually people reach the end and they're like, okay, I've done everything. What's next? So you can't just not care and wait. You have to continuously give people new things for free, but as well, you want at some point to make a really big change, like really new things, that you would be too dangerous to do just as a patch, because you need more testing, you need maybe a bigger download and all that thing, and if it's big enough and exciting enough, maybe you can sell it.
You're saying that if there is going to be an expansion set, it will be just an awesome thing, absolutely new, changing the game in all the ways.
That would make sense.
Yes, okay. So let's talk about the responsibility for the game and for the world of Star Wars. I mean, you know how many fans there are of the Star Wars in the world. Many. Just say yeah, many. So I don't know if you heard about the World of Warcraft. I mean, you obviously heard about the game.
I think yes.
I mean, you can say anything you want about World of Warcraft. Blizzard won't watch that, so go on.
Not sorry. What was the question?
You can just say anything you want about the World of Warcraft. Blizzard won't watch it.
Absolutely, I'm very grateful because it took a small market, or with something we thought was big, like 1 million players. And they make it really big by converting people, right? And so they expanded the market, and something that is big enough for us to decide it's going to be profitable for us to have a game in the same space. And you know, by converting friends of players, by converting spouses and kids, it's great. I mean, they have really brought, I think, a level of quality. And people don't say they have not done innovation. This is really because they've done a lot of innovation, and just they've really not created but expanded this market beyond whatever anybody thought was possible. So there's
a respect, and we
have a lot of respect for, and I think I mean, they really like our game as well. So far, the single player game and so on. So, and we like their games. So it's a small industry.
So as for the responsibility, many Warcraft fans just scream at the Blizzard because they destroyed the lore, the history of the game. They just they accuse the Blizzard of just pushing the story just for the sake of getting some money, of making new patches, new expansion sets. Aren't you kind of worried that you're gonna do the same thing that Star Wars in some time, that the players and the Star Wars fans will be like, man, that's not Star Wars anymore, that's just doing more of this story just to get some money?
So I think if you really do your job well, and you listen to your customer, and you're very conscious of what you want to achieve, and you're very respectful of the IP, you still will have people screaming at you and being upset at you. It's just the nature of massively multiplayer games that there will be people that will not be happy regardless of what you do. But if you do your job well, it'd be a very small minority. And I think we've shown, at least in the kind of for Star Wars, the respect that we have for the for Star Wars, for the name. I think we've shown that in the Night of the Old Republic. From what our tester tell us, we've shown that in the Old Republic. So I'm not worried about that. I think people will be happy. There are some criticism, you know, that we listen to and so on and so forth. But in general, I must say, I think we've done a good job.
So nobody should scream that, oh, you just destroyed the world and you're making Star Wars look like a super pony HD edition.
Of course people will say that. People will say anything. It's the internet, you know that. And it's important actually because up to now, if you want BioWare always had really nice forums where very respectful, very mature, with like great discussion.
Yes, absolutely love, you know, I've been on BioWare forums lately on the Mass Effect side, and I've seen the topic about the Garrus, which is about a few thousand pages long, which is absolutely awesome.
And we know that, especially after we launch, there's a chance that this will change a little bit because it's different when you have a massively multiplayer game. People get much more involved. It's their universe, you know, it's their thing, and they are very protective about it. So we expect you have to have a thick skin, as we say in English. You have to understand that some people will be upset with you. Hopefully, the majority or the vast majority will be happy with you.
So yeah, that sounds good for me. I'm actually satisfied. So next thing is, you know, the problem with today's MMO games, at least for me, is the grinding, because you have to get to a certain level to have some fun. And the first thing is, how did you make the leveling interesting? How did you make it not boring? And the second thing, what about the end game content?
Okay. Well, there's two questions there. Yes. One is about grinding. To me, the definition of grinding is doing something repetitious with no context for the single purpose of leveling up. I think we've eliminated that entirely because you have your story, and the reason you always have a context. There's always a reason for you to do things, and if you just do your quest and the world quest or mission, as we call them, you will reach the max level. There's nothing. Oh, and now I have to do the same thing 10 times. And so they are available. If you want to do a lot of PvP where you redo the same thing again and again, but it's always new because of the other players, you could, and you can level up like that as well. But people will, as soon as we do that, I'm sure people will change what grinding means and will say, oh, they're still grinding because we just changed what it means. So like, okay, fine. It's a funny industry, isn't it? But it's just a nature, and we have to accept it. That's totally fine. So yes, you can reach the maximum level even playing by yourself, but it's not the best way or the most fun way to play. So our job as designer is not to force you to group and force you to do a flashpoint of things, but to make you want to do it and tempt you with reward and tempt you with it's just so easy that you're going to do it, and then you're going to discover you love it. Same thing with PvP. You know, the first time we give you a quest mission, please go and try PvP, and like, oh wow, this is fun, I want to do it again. But we're not going to force you. As for the end game, you know, in BioWare we are a bit funny in the way we never ever want to talk about something that is not finished and ready to show at all. And for years we wanted to talk about endgame because it's so important in a massively multiplayer game. It's one of the really pillar of it. And we couldn't because it was not finished, it was not ready to show, and you know, our own policy just forbid us to talk about it. What I love about this gamescom is that now we are finally ready, and so we had live demo of, you know, raids, operation as we call them. We've presented a new PvP battleground, Warzone as we call them, and so on. So I'm really relieved that finally we can say and prove how important it is to us. And you know, we understand that it's not enough to have one of this and maybe 2 or 3 of that, and that players need a certain amount of things to do and to master and to have different degree of difficulty. So we have all that.
So that's great, because you know, many MMOs died because of having no endgame content. So that's good to hear that it's Star Wars.
The thing about that is sometimes you have endgame content, but you fail to communicate, and perception is sometimes as important as reality in an MMO. If you're not even, you're halfway through it and another player says, ah, there's no end game, like you're tempted to quit, right? And then, so not only we must have endgame, we must show it to the players, we must make sure they are aware of it, and that the feedback from the people that have experienced it is that it's really awesome and deep and difficult, and that there's more coming.
Okay, so next question, let's just get to the technical stuff. I mean, it's not going to be about PC, it's going to be our consoles. Have you ever looked about making the game onto console? Because, you know, you have a huge fan base which has the console, which would love, including me, which would love to play on the consoles. I mean, have you at least looked into this, or maybe you're planning something? Maybe you want to announce something exclusively right now?
Do you know how many DVDs you would need to make this game fit on the console?
You can say how many. I mean, I would take up to 10, and I wouldn't scream, personally.
Yeah, the thing about console is they are not that powerful. I mean, I see people doing amazing things with them, and I look at it like, really? That's on the PS3? Well, wow. I mean, they really, really push it, but our game is so much bigger, so much more vast. I think, because we have so many ability and tactics, the control would be crap, and we would have to design the game for it, but then the PC game would be crap, to be frank. And B, just the memory footprint would be so enormous that it just would be loaded. I mean, you have to design a game for your medium. This game is not for consoles and cannot be ported for console.
If you try, even if you don't do the interface for like 2 years, sitting in the basement with some guys and just sketching the interface, so no.
We would have to redo a new game. We could maybe reuse the story, but interface-wise, technological-wise, and even what you see would have to be entirely different to just barely fit into it. It's just not possible.
So the next question is, one more question. Oh, can we have 2 questions, please? Okay, 2. So, I don't know if you heard about EVE Online and Dust 514, probably. This is the connecting 2 games, the MMO game and the shooter game. Do you plan to do anything like that in the future with Star Wars: The Old Republic? Just connecting like 2 games, 2 worlds of 2 games, just making it dynamic? Because, I mean, it's an awesome idea.
It's an awesome idea. Let's see how well they do.
Huh?
Let's see how well they do, and you know, but I'm not sure. Oh, we could fit it, but no, we've never even discussed about it. I love that the industry is trying new things. We are trying to bring voiceover, story, immersion further. They are trying connecting 2 games. Other people are trying new business model. It's nice. The industry is evolving. It's not like other genres that you look at it, you're like, this is exactly the same thing, like exactly the same thing. No, our industry is changing, which I think is great. It's expanding in terms of population, which is good. I can't wait what people come up with, including what they are doing over there.
Okay, so, and the last question, because I've been told that this is the last question, because
this is the last question.
Yes, this is the last question. Oh my God, which one to choose? I have so many questions. I'm gonna go with the PvP. Many players ask about the PvP because, you know, is it how it's different from the PvE? Is it going to be, you know, just give me the definition of the awesome PvP, and is it in the game?
Okay, we have awesome PvP.
Okay, so now important of that.
Initially, I was not really much of a PvP player, but once I tried it
So you just like to kill boars in games, etc.
No, but once I tried it in World of Warcraft, for example, I realized that in a certain way, the PvE game was just, you know, the training wheels that take you to the PvP. But somehow I didn't really like the battleground as much as I thought I was going to. Personally, I'm not saying that they are bad or anything. It's just for different players. In Warhammer, on the other hand, I saw that both because it was much easier at the time. You just click on a button, it takes you there. And the kind of scenarios that they had, I thought was really fun and very fun and dynamic and fast, and I really got into it. And that's what we try to capture with this game, the same kind of DNA, if you want. And I think we've done it. Or Warzone are really, you know, you can queue them from anywhere, and then once you're inside, they are really a lot of fun. So far, I don't know anybody who didn't like it. So, I think we've done a good job, and that's just one kind of PvP. We have announced in this gamescom that we would have also not only open world PvP, of course, because the 2 factions meet, you know, on planet, but open world PvP with objective, permanent objectives, you know, you can do and so on. So That's great, because a lot of players have been asking us like, yeah, Warzone, sure, it's instant, it's artificial, what I want is being the world, I have objective to take on, and yeah, we have that, and we've been talking a little bit over about that.
Half a question to the PvP, just another question to the PvP. Sure. Have you been focused on making it look absolutely epic? I mean, the whole Star Wars thing is epic. Did you make the PvP look like kind of Star Wars movie? When people just look and play in PvP, they were like, wow, it looks so awesome, it's so epic. My skin is just burning from excitement.
I think so, but one of our focus for this PvP is we know that a PvP players can be very, very how do you call it? They like to win a lot, and you want to be very competitive. And even if we have really nice graphic, but that take a lot of performance, they would take all the slider down because I give them a little edge. So we are aware of this. So when we design our zone, we design in a way that they actually use less polygon and less models. We still try to make them really, really beautiful, but we have some performance goals that are much, much higher than for other zones, because we know the mind of the PvP players, and the fact that it looked like Star Wars is great, but it was not our focus. Our focus was gameplay and playability and performance.
So that's all the questions. I'd like to ask some more, but okay, it's no time. So absolutely thank you for the interview. It was a blast for me. So. Także oglądaliście właśnie wywiad z miłym panem bardzo The Old Republic. Dziękujemy za uwagę. Wywiad możecie obejrzeć. Prawdopodobnie go obejrzeliście. Także dziękuję.